republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, everyone had a chance to look over the agenda? Somebody want to approve the agenda?
I would move that we would approve the amended agenda, I guess you would call it, second one that we got here.
Okay,
Second.
second. Any other questions? No? If not, Keith?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
And yes. Okay, approve the meeting minutes from November 12th, 2024.
I would move that we would approve them.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, Keith?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes. All right,
We,
go ahead.
the amended agenda is in front of you, so we added the approval of bills on there too, but we also added the meeting minutes for the special assessment hearing. So those need to be, approved as well.
All right, okay. So we have the special assessment hearing minutes on November 12th.
Motion to approve.
second.
Any other discussion? If not,
Actually, sorry, yeah, on that, is that these right here? And then there's a, why is that highlighted?
That's just for my own,
And it's fine?
Yes.
Like, okay, I was just like, I guess I should have mentioned that, but okay, that's good to go then. Yeah.
so we're going off the amended agenda now, so. Keith?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
And yes. Okay, now approval of the November 12th, 2024 meeting minutes.
Motion to approve. Even, we've done that, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
I think we did that already, didn't we?
Yeah.
I've already done that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All in favor, or Keith?
We'll just move on to the next.
We'll just move on because we've already done that, Mark.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Financials. Somebody wanna make a motion to approve the financial report?
Yeah, motion to approve November financial.
Second it.
Okay, any other discussion? Not hearing any, Keith?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes. Okay, approve the bills. Somebody, has everyone had a chance to go through the bills?
Motion to approve the bills?
Second it.
Any other discussion? If not, Keith?
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
Yes. All right, we have a local raffle permit tag.
That's me.
Stacy?
Either.
Hi. Thank you for seeing me. Yes, we would like to request permit to hold our Washburn Alternative Group raffle, the 50/50 raffle that we usually have the home basketball games. And I basically wrote on there all the home games. I'm not sure what we're going to actually be, when we're actually going to be doing it. It's going to be kind of shared off on with if there's other groups that are raising funds that you don't want to bombard everybody at every game. So, yeah, we were hoping you'd give us the approval so we could raise funds for the prom. After prom party, I guess.
I'll make a motion to approve the raffle permit.
so in this here though, excuse me, Mark.
Yep.
It said to provide the exact dates, so these aren't the exact dates in here.
Those are all the dates of all of the home games.
Okay, all right. So in other words, I guess maybe I misunderstood you. You may use all those dates or you may not.
Correct.
Yeah, it's free to get into the game, but it costs you
Yeah.
$35.
Yeah, pretty much. There you go.
Okay, I'll second that, Mark. I just
All
want
right.
clarification there.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Not Keith?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, waiver of fees, Lions Club. Chelsea, you wanna take that one? Is this,
it's for their Lions breakfast that they are doing on February 9th. Standard, I guess, for what they've done in the past. They'll be using the kitchen and the gym for upstairs. We do have their refundable deposit. And they're just asking for the waiver of fees.
Motion to approve. I'll second that.
Okay, any more discussion? Keith?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. All right, liquor license renewals.
Okay, last year we had, not to be, we had just approved all of them, you know, together. So I would, everything here is in order. We received from Super Pumper today and the drawing from Interbase, so we have everything in order. So being how that is, I will make a motion that we approve the liquor license renewals for the Riverboat Saloon, American Legion Post number 12, Dakota Farms, the Cabin Bar and Grill, Interbase, Super Pumper, Berlato Enterprises LLC, on the condition that the real estate taxes are current.
Okay.
Cause that's one piece of information that we don't have, so.
I'll second that motion. Is there any other discussion? Keith?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And yes. Okay. Memorandum of commitment?
No.
Oh, no,
planning
sorry,
and zoning.
17. P and Z recommend planning and zoning.
Okay, the Planning and Zoning Committee had a request from Dylan Barnhart for a variance on his double wide trailer. He needs to move it 2 feet closer, so we needed a variance. Letters were sent out to everyone within 150 feet. There was no one that protested it. He visited with the neighbor next door, who did not have an issue with it at all, so it was unanimously passed by Planning and Zoning. So going with Planning and Zoning's recommendation, I would move that we would grant the request for Dylan Barnhart's variance.
Second it.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Not hearing any, Keith?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, now the 18 memorandum of commitment.
Yeah, you guys wanna come up to the table?
Here,
You need a short,
that way I can,
you need a shorter cord?
I think the cable's long enough, I just didn't want you to trip over.
Oh. Okay. Adam is going to bring up, there we go. All right, this is Mr. Brent Boger from A2S, and you know, Eric and Larry, myself. We have been meeting with Brent and Tim Mahoney, Bruce Grubb, Ann from McLean Sheridan. We've had numerous meetings and have come to a point now where we need a memorandum of commitment. I guess I just want to really thank Brent and Tim Mahoney and Bruce. They've really come to the plate for us and have built a strong bond of trust, I believe, you know, with us. And Sean was also, you know, at these meetings. He would come from Grand Forks when we would meet in Jamestown. So they'll be on the hook here for us, but I'm going to turn it over to Brent because he can present it much better than I can. So.
Yeah, so what we have before you tonight is, as Tim said, is the memorandum of commitment. And it's basically, it's an agreement between the city of Washburn, Lake Agassiz Water Authority or LAWA, and Garrison Diversion Conservancy District. And like LAWA and Garrison Diversion, they're the project sponsors and owners of the Red River Valley Water Supply Project. And to put together this memorandum of commitment, and it's really for communities to sign on so that we know who's interested in being part of the project going forward. Because as you're trying to build out how much it's going to cost, who's going to pay what, you need to know who's at the table. And that's really what the memorandum of commitment is saying you want a seat at the table, you're interested in being part of the project. This memorandum of commitment does not have any financial commitment in it for the city of Washburn. As Tim explained it, as we were going through this earlier. It says, really what this is an opportunity for Washburn to sign an agreement that says we want to be at the table and be part of the discussions so that we can figure out what our costs actually would be specifically to using the intake as an option for you as a city. So that commitment, what this memorandum does is, again, gives you that seat at the table. Along with that commitment, memorandum commitment, the LAWA developed what's called an assurance policy, which I wanted to cover as well, because I think that's a key part for a community like Washburn is, as I said, there's no financial obligation in this memorandum of commitment, but down the road, you're gonna have to make some financial commitment to be part of the project and pay for your share of that if you choose to move forward. The assurance policy gives you that option, though, that says if after 10 years of the project being completed, Washburn does not see any value or benefit to being part of that project, you can opt out, and LAWA members, specifically Fargo and Grand Forks, but potentially others, but primarily Fargo and Grand Forks, they will repay any principal payments that Washburn, the city of Washburn, made towards the project. So it kind of gives you that ability to say, hey, we know we've got some research to do here yet to figure out, is this the right thing for the city or not? But now you can do that as being considered part of the project and moving forward, but knowing that you have that option out if needed down the road. So that's what's before you is this memorandum of commitment. Like I said, there is no financial, in the information that we did share with you was also kind of a financial outlay potential as it's forecasted right now. And one of the things that I'd like to point out is if you look at that schedule, there's not actually a financial commitment until 2028 because of the financial structure that the project was able to get with the Bank of North Dakota terms. You have, once you were to participate in a financial agreement, which would come after this legislative session, because right now all of the funds for Red River are already committed for the current biennium. So this next biennium, so come July of 2025, that's when that first agreement would potentially be there. And it's probably going to be more like the fall of 25 when something gets bid and awarded. But then there's a 2-year deferral where no one participating in the project has to actually make any payments. We got terms with the Bank of North Dakota of 2 years of no payments, 3 years of interest only payments. So that's why if you look at that schedule, you have very small payments in those first couple of years, even when there are payments. So where you pencil that out, you're really looking at the first time that Washburn would have a dollar that would go into this would probably be 2028. So you've kind of got a 3-year window here right now to really do your due diligence to determine where you want to be.
Would it be January or July approximately?
Approximately, if the project was bid in the fall of 25, contracts awarded in probably late in the winter of 25 or early 26, then it would probably be January of 28 would be the most likely.
When we were, a few years ago, when we were working with Blue Flint, when they wanted to be in, before you guys were even on board, we sat down many meetings and negotiated out what they needed, what was best for the city, made sure our priorities, that type of thing was there. And what this does is there's a lot of unanswered questions that I have and a lot of unanswered questions that you guys have. And that's what what I understand, that's what this memorandum of commitment is that it is to try to get as much of a final cost share as Washburn's gonna have, routing of the pipeline, how much do we use our existing intake versus we use this, but just all these things that have just never been able to be discussed because there was so much up in the air has now come together to where we have the tool to sit down at the table and negotiate, these issues out.
So I did get a call from Mayor Mahoney this afternoon, and he informed me that the Washburn Brick Grant was approved.
Okay.
So, and that's like $7,080,000. That's up to that amount. So that was one of the big
We're waiting for.
points we were waiting for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really surprised when I got his call. So
That's great news.
yeah, and also we do have a letter of support from McLean Sheridan,
Yep.
for going forward with this
Yeah,
memorandum.
they actually signed the memorandum, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah, McLean Sheridan signed the memorandum, so, and the more players we have, the better it looks legislatively too. We'll be looking for funding, so.
I guess if I may ask, you kind of stressed the point that there's no like financial commitment right now. Previously there was a $12,000 non-refundable deposit. Is that no longer a thing?
That's no longer a thing. That was in that original, what we called the Small System Series D2 agreement. That agreement's been approved by 7 other communities, but from a timing standpoint, we had to move beyond that. We needed to get that locked in so that we could just move forward. So that's where this new memorandum of commitment came into play. It says, okay, the deadline passed for being part of that D2 that had that financial commitment, but we still want to know if your communities are interested. So we came out with this next version of the MOC.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep.
Are there any obstacles that might cause that intake structure to shut down? Say if the Knife River was running to where, you know, the silt stuff got to a certain point?
I guess I can comment on that if you want. So what I would say there is that there was a lot of research that went into the location of that intake, and a lot of great care was put into getting that into a deep main channel of the river. And because there's a natural scour because of the bend in the river there, and there's the riverbank is armored, it has been that way for many years, ever since they'd armored that riverbank, that it would be a lot less likely. I can't say 100% sure that you'll never have a intake silt in, because of conventional intakes on the Missouri River do have that issue. But in this case, this is the location that they have for this one is an excellent location for a conventional intake.
Right.
So it's far less likely that something like that would happen. And if something like that would happen, and I don't want to speak for Kip on this too much, but that's something that Garrison Diversion would help to make sure that remains clear if it had to be dredged out or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if Kip wants to comment on that at all, or.
Well, one thing that I'm talking about too is just the water clarity, you know, and then now you have all that brown water in the pipeline, and then would it have to be flushed then? And then,
You mean the pipeline coming?
yeah,
So it's
Yeah.
the raw water from
the
the
raw
intake,
water.
it's gonna be as good or better, I would say, than what the
Than what
conventional
we would-
intake is that the
right.
city has, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have some sand come in on those types of conventional intakes, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that the Washburn water plants had to work with and deal with over the years since they've been running their plant. But it's not gonna be, I wouldn't say it's gonna be any more than what they already deal with.
And then I assume you'll have sand filters installed in the intake structure to where it's gonna,
No,
No, so just like the water plant runs right now, the city has a membrane, filters.
Right.
But they have a clarifier prior to that,
Yeah.
so what sand does come in from the raw water is gonna run through the clarifier first, and that's gonna settle out. So that's how, the city's, water plant doesn't have like a pre-sedimentation part of their treatment train. It's just that clarifier that's gonna settle out the sand.
And the intake structure Kip did, the intake structure does have grit removal as part of its,
Okay,
so it does have some level,
okay, that's good.
you know.
yeah, I'm
Yeah, between the
familiar with
two of them, they'll
Rainbow Energy's pump house and how they're, but then we have, like I was explaining to Tim, weekly they have to backwash their intake lines, things like that, so.
At Rainbow?
Yep.
You're talking, and they pull away a lot more water,
Right.
Rainbow does, than what the city ever uses.
Right.
So you're gonna have
But I
probably
just-
more of that happens.
Looking at how much it's gonna put in the line, and then, you know.
Yeah.
We don't wanna see that as being an issue down the couple years into the process.
And these are all things that would be, discussed in the MOC for
Yeah.
assurances and
Nope.
stuff like that, so
Just
there's
wondering.
probably no real answer for it tonight, so.
Right.
Right.
Just for clarification.
I think too, what we're looking at is Washburn would not own that line.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Garrison Diversion would own that line.
Right.
And they would be responsible for maintenance on that line. You know, we'd only be responsible from where we hook onto it,
Yeah.
so.
It's just for being reliable, to make sure that, you know, something comes. And we will have our system as a backup.
Well, they're gonna
So-
wanna keep it running because trust
Oh,
me,
yeah.
they didn't spend that much money just to hook it to Washburn.
Oh,
I
no,
mean, they have-
no,
they
I
have-
know.
They have plans to move a lot of water through there, so we would be just a fraction of what
Right.
would be without water, so.
Yeah.
Just that we happen to be the first, so. Go ahead, Jamie.
Oh, sorry, where's the anticipated connection point from City of Washburn to this?
The route's still, we're still,
As close as possible to the
Yeah.
plant.
right, yeah.
I know.
I think right now, excuse me, goes in the back of the plant, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's where the
Yeah.
water, that's where the raw water comes into the plant, yes, is on the river side, the
Yeah.
back side of the plant.
I would think worst case scenario would be up at 283.
Yep,
Right.
That'd be worst
Come
case
down,
scenario.
we'd have to come in the back of the plant.
Mhm. Okay.
Where does it go past here? Or where's it, I guess have they figured that out, the route past here, or
There is a, there was 3 different routes that were proposed. And, you know, one would be to follow the highway, which, you know, DOT would have to have permission. There was another one that would follow the highway. You can help me on this, Larry, I think you ran follows the highway for 2 or 3 miles and then kind of jogs up around the north, and then they all end up coming down 200, of course.
Mhm.
And then I can't remember.
The
where
other was
the-
going through town.
The other one was coming,
Yeah.
pouring right through town.
we looked at 3 routes, one
Three
through
routes.
town, one
For
along
you,
the
yeah.
Highway 83 corridor, and the one that kind of went to the north that had the least impact, we thought, on landowners and
Right.
environmental.
Yeah.
But is your question, Jamie, are you asking like where does the pipeline go after Washburn?
yeah, I was kinda just wondering what the proposed route was. I mean,
Yeah.
from to here and then from here.
So the main pipeline, they haven't ran a main pipeline yet from that intake. But it would just depend on, and you know, Brent and Kip and Sean might be able to talk more about it, but it would depend on what other users they would wanna sign up for the pipeline that comes off the intake on the Missouri River.
Yeah, there was at one time, and maybe there still is, there was talks of one huge line that would go to Rainbow, you know, but now they're talking about if Rainbow wants it to be 2 separate lines, so that there's a lot of stuff in the works, but if we had our own separate line, the destination would be Washburn, is what I understand. It wouldn't be going anywhere past here. It would just be designated for Washburn in somewhere around an 8, 10, or 12-inch line, so. And that line, I think when I was visiting with you today, you know, would be less expensive because it'd be poly versus steel if you went to like a 30 or 36-inch line, you know, which the power plant would use, so. And there was a concern if you had that big of a 36-inch line and we were the only one tapping off of it for a while, that water would be like an underground reservoir, which could get stale, so.
Yeah.
These are all things that were, but as far as just our designated line, it just comes to us, it wouldn't go anywhere else, so.
Is there anybody that's manning that right now, or is it just gonna shut down?
It's just sitting there, nothing to man, so.
Well, I wasn't sure.
Right now, there's no pumps or
Okay.
operationals on it, so it's just the intake structure at
Just the
this time.
structure, okay.
Just the physical structure.
On that line, being the one that we had to submit for our brick grant and that was approved, is that the line we have to stick with, or can we go back to changing that?
You
If-
talk about route.
Yeah, because if that, we had to submit our route for the
Yeah.
line to,
And-
for this brick grant, if it was approved,
Right.
can that line go back?
I think it can. So what Sarah had worked on when she called in and
Yep.
we looked at the different routes and stuff. I think what she was trying to narrow down, she was trying to nail down the cost, so she could submit a preliminary design with a cost to that brick
Sure.
grant, so that they could look at that and be like, okay, you got a project here. Here's your line. This is what it would cost. Now I think it could be that you could change that, but I think that would be the primary one we'd look at as the one that we had determined was the best route when we all looked at it together.
Yep.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say we don't really know a formal route, we just have proposed routes as of
Proposed
now?
Proposed route,
Yeah.
but the city did select what they believe would be the best one, and you know, Sarah and I agreed, you know, that northern route
Yeah.
would be better.
It would follow the highway and then it would jump
Jump north.
north and then come around back down, so. Of course, it depends on easements and landowners.
Easements are one of the, might be one of the stickers in that,
Right.
in that route,
Yeah.
so.
Like I said, these are all things that, should this be approved, that we'll get started on.
When will you have any drawings available to share
As far as,
of the intake structure and how it's gonna work?
It could be a year, it could be 2 years, it could be,
yeah, cause they've got to put together the blueprints for it all. And
Right.
I mean, we've got to pick a route and we've got to.
Yeah.
Decide.
I'm just wondering on the structure, how, you know, how the intake system works.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have, that's already figured out to the most
we
part.
would have our own pump house on there, from what I understand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one
that
time
would
there
just
was
be
talk
us.
about, building, like, remember that they talked about building a temporary pump station
Yeah.
early in? And then when more were added, that would be removed and there'd be a more permanent structure put on there. So there's, yeah, I mean, as it goes, Mark, as it goes down the line, all of those things like the blueprints,
Branch
all
off.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, I guess we don't, without this, we can't get to that. That's
Mhm.
kind of where we're at, so,
Yeah, I'm just wondering the building itself, what it's gonna look like.
yeah, so we don't have any idea right now. Cause we don't, by then there might be another user or two that wanna go another direction and then of course. they
Yeah,
increase the size of it.
I'm just talking just the structure itself. Just the interest.
Okay, have you guys had a chance to look over this, read this memorandum?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Is there any questions on the memorandum, I guess?
Yeah, I guess going back to what's in front of us, what is this all, just in a nutshell, I mean, what does this lock us down to, or, I mean, if we okay this, like you said, this is just a memorandum, what is it, of intent, I guess,
Yeah.
basically,
Commitment and
Commitment.
saying that you wanna be considered part of the project. And it's, you know, from a number standpoint, it's committing the city of Washburn saying that they're gonna take 0.45 CFS of the project. That's the water volume that you're committing to. That's been the number that Washburn had nominated for previously. And so that's what's in here saying that that's what we wanna do. So what that does is allows the Garrison and Lawa team then to plug that in and then figure out what is the prorated cost share for all of the users that then sign up. You know, obviously Fargo and Grand Forks being the largest ones of that, but you know, each person that signs on then has you know, that reduces the amount that's got to be shared by everyone else. So getting that all plugged in helps the financial team model all of that.
in 5 years.
Brent, this is Sean.
Go ahead.
So I just want to clarify, you know, the way that it's being proposed right now is not that the costs would get spread out amongst everyone. So, you know, Washburn's allocation amount on a percentage basis would stay the same.
Yep.
Or in the same ballpark moving forward, and Grand Forks and Fargo are talking about whoever didn't commit, then they would pick up the difference. The difference wouldn't get spread out to everyone. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Jim, you have any more, you wanna talk about any more discussion?
No, I was just wondering if there's any more questions.
Oh, yeah,
concerning any
that's what
of
I'm
this.
wondering too.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't,
Not at this
I mean,
time.
if someone would have a question for one of us, that's,
Sure.
but otherwise, I think like Larry said, if anybody has any questions versus on the actual memorandum statement itself.
Well, I think, you know, it's good to point out, you know, the original memorandum of commitment was really tied us into something, just, you're stuck. And this just gives way more control over, you know, gives us more, I think, skin in the game to decide what we're gonna do and, you know, negotiate costs and everything else, so.
The first one was very restrictive. It gave us very little wiggle room. It's kind of like either like it or you don't.
Mhm.
Where this one opens it up to where we can negotiate a number of issues, so.
Yep.
I guess as far as I'm concerned, I recommend the city Finds us,
Yeah.
you know, absolutely.
That's, like I said, McLean Sheridan signed on 2 weeks ago, right?
About 2 weeks ago, yeah.
When they had their board meeting.
Somebody wanna make a motion?
I would move that we would accept this memorandum of commitment.
Second.
Any more discussion? Not hearing any?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
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 I wanna thank Brent and
Yeah.
Sean and all you guys for all your hard work. It's been great to work with. Look forward to working with you in the future.
Sounds good.
This
We'll
is
be
your
sure
second commission meeting of the evening, isn't it?
Yes. Yep. Kip and Sean, thanks for joining remotely and being available for questions. And we will see you guys tomorrow, probably.
Yeah, it's an extra copy.
Yep, sounds good, thank you.
Sounds good, thank you.
Oops, sorry. Guess we can move these.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
To meet you.
All right. NRG contract for 2025.
The agreement here breaks it down for our agreement. Our network management, data backup, Office 365. I did send a little more detailed copy that I was sent back in June to help for budgeting purposes. Our Office 365 license did go down because we did drop a license.
That was yours.
So our total monthly commitment going forward to have energy for 2025 would be $619 a month. And we can pay that monthly, or we can, be billed annually. We've been doing it monthly in the past.
Is there any discount for annual, anything like that?
No,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have two of them.
Somebody wanna make a motion?
Yeah, I think, yep, I motion to approve the energy contract for 2025.
I'll second that. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Keith?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, review of the update flood ordinance.
We currently have a FEMA ordinance in place. There are some changes coming from FEMA that we had to update into, our ordinance. There's some small ones. The effective adoption date would be March of 2025. I'm just gonna highlight some of the changes that were in here. There was a section in model ordinance 3.7 for severability section that had to be added. And-
3.7,
Yep, 3.7.
okay.
That section was added. There was some verbiage in the definitions that needed to be changed from, it was initialed as best available or change best available data to best available information, so went from BAD to BAI. And there was a missing section in there for existing manufactured homes in the definitions that had to be added, and then the violation was missing, so that was added in there as well.
And this is all in 3.7.
That one, nope, it goes back to definitions.
Oh, okay.
I'm going back off the checklist that was sent,
Yep,
so
that's
it's,
fine.
I'm just reading off that, sorry. Then the other change that was made had to include the higher standards. Instead of just higher standard, it had to be ND higher standard, and that's in 5.2, 5.211 and 5.222. There was a missing piece for the proposed ordinance for section 5.5 that was added. And in 5.2 2-3, all manufactured homes are treated the same no matter what their location is. And as well as 5.2-3, with those zones. And then there was a missing section in 5.2-4 that had to be added as well. So it's just,
So then this isn't like a city ordinance that takes two readings, or?
it is a city ordinance.
Okay.
We just get all our guidelines from FEMA. I think it's ordinance, 142?
Yep.
So we would have to just amend it, I guess,
So we would do
with the
it this,
changes.
this month and next month then? Okay.
Cause then we have to put it in there, for people that want to build homes or do anything that they have to follow their,
Right, so it just brings us up to regulation.
yep, the flood regulations.
Okay. So then this would be considered a first reading of the amendments?
Yes.
Yes.
And I do have the old and the new, I guess if people would want to look at them or see them more in detail, but I did have their guy from the state too, Tyler, review it. And he sent it to FEMA as well to review, so that, to make sure that it's all up to date.
Okay.
Do we need to make a motion to approve the
Yep.
changes?
So
Yes.
I would move that we would approve the first reading of the, updated flood ordinance.
Okay.
Changes.
Second?
Any more discussion? If not, Keith?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay, new location for regional library.
We received a letter in the mail. The regional library is closing in Riverdale. All the libraries currently received a letter to ask if they would be interested in taking on and being the regional library. I did reach out to Candy and ask if it was something that she would be interested in. She said yes. There are some concerns with it. There is a requirement that the space would ideally be 6,000 square feet. They would have to house the bookmobile, which needs a 12 to 14 foot overhead door access and is 30 foot long.
Yep.
And I don't know where we would store that, as we don't have enough room for our own equipment currently, but
Right.
it is something that I know they are interested in. I don't know, did you guys talk about it more?
Yeah, we
You can
did,
maybe take the
um,
lead on this.
Sure, no problem. So yeah, there was, it would take a lot of creativity, right? Because we obviously don't like have a spare 6,000 square foot building just hanging out that we could just turn the lights on, right? Because of that, like, just, we've kind of talked about like, okay, well, could we rent bus storage over at the school, or, you know, whatever's going with the Family Dollar, like, could that become it? You know, because there is some advantages that we would have just because of our location for the regional library, because it's a 2-county. You know, the book traffic would go north as well as west. And we'd kind of be a little distribution center sort of thing from Bismarck, is kind of how I understand it, I guess. There is benefits, of course, because then you have funding from 2 different counties for this. That's what they receive. I know Beulah has submitted kind of an offer for it, and I don't like have a solid anything on this, but I did see in the paper that Riverdale might be reconsidering and working with them again, you know, so maybe
Oh,
it
really?
will just stay in, yeah, it might just stay in Riverdale, I guess, who knows? So it's kind of up in the air, but the thing is, like, if this is something that we truly desired, I guess, we could be very creative and get something figured out, right? But I guess we just have to weigh the cost and benefits and just really, it would be a thing. It'd be like, okay, month 1, figure out a proposal, because they need a proposal that they can accept, so then getting bids, getting contractors, here's where this can go, here's what this can do. And of course, it'd be our responsibility, not the library's responsibility, because the agreement would be with us and them, not them and our library, if that kind of makes sense, kind of like it was between them and Riverdale previously. But I guess it's a pretty big project. If we'd be interested to looking into it more, I guess that's kind of what we just mainly came to talk about was.
Did I read in here, Keith, where there was maybe some grant money available?
I'm sure there'd be lots of different grants and that sort of thing available, yeah, but as for like specific ones,
Maybe that's what or maybe I read that in some of our other material, but, okay.
Is there a timeline?
it's really dependent upon their board, you know, because they're, I don't believe, Chelsea, that letter said anything.
They'll
like-
hold a special meeting mid-January where they would like to review options presented by the potential city at that time. We
Yeah.
could know the location, relocation could be late in 2025.
Okay. So that'd be the base timeline of like when we need some sort of response, right? Just my kind of thinking just originally goes to like, how could we sell that? You know what I mean? Like, we would need a building, we need a location, you know, like, so it'd be a tough project, but that'd be okay.
It's kind of a short timeline.
And that's what I'm saying, like, yeah. Yeah, I'm saying it's possible, it could be beneficial, for sure, but overall, like, we just really have to look at our options, you know, and if it's something that we'd be even interested in even putting any energy into, you know, so.
What kind of additional funding would that bring, or?
So it gets funding from 2 different counties as the like regional library. I don't think it'd be any specific funding between, because our library and them have a contract, where they pay basically a certain amount of hours for our librarian, as well as other, a few other things. But beyond that, like direct numbers or anything like that, I guess, I could like look, because I mean, I could just ask and see what Riverdale gets for it, see if there's anything that they get, because it'll be all be public information. But mainly, I just wanted to see if you guys, or sorry, Miranda was going to see if you guys were interested in even doing this. So that's kind of what we talked about.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we had an abundance of buildings sitting around that we're looking for someone to move into. That's.
Or even land, you know what I mean? Like even land.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So. Yeah. So in other words, they would even so you're considering the feasibility of even building a new building then?
Well, I'm just saying that would we even be able to figure this out? You know what I mean? Like just because
It's-
our options are so limited with
It's
what
too
we
short,
have.
yeah, it's too short a time frame. So,
Right.
yeah. They're probably looking, there might be somebody out there that has already got something existing that's ready to go, kind of a deal,
Mhm.
you know? Cause that's the only way you'd hit this time frame.
Well, yeah, I mean, probably, and I'd say it could be doable, right? You have to be very, very aggressive with it, you know, like, but then at that point, like, how accurate are your numbers? How careful can you really be if you're moving that fast? So I don't think it'd be a good idea.
It is your
Moving that
busiest
fast.
time of the year, you know, I don't think you.
Oh,
have
it's
much-
Miranda's project, I'm sure, God. No problem.
Okay,
So I guess, Miranda and yourself kind of keep us updated on, you know, and then we'll probably go over this again at the next meeting if needed.
No, probably not, because if you guys don't want to do it, we probably won't put any effort into it. Like, if
Okay.
it does seem like something you guys want to do, if it is, yeah. we can look
Well,
into
I'm
it.
just saying if, you know,
I don't know.
I don't see a
I don't think we have,
purpose, but
I don't think we have anything that we can act on that fast.
no.
Mhm.
And I think maybe one option would be to see, maybe there's somebody else out there that does have a building.
Yeah.
So maybe wait till January and, cause they might put out another request with a different timeline or whatever to get more people involved,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
is my thought.
Yeah.
So,
Right, because I know only Beulah, as far as I know, only Beulah submitted, and it sounds like Riverdale wants to get back in to the
Right.
table, so there's 2 up against it, yeah, we could just see how it goes, I
Right.
guess, just
Sure.
because of,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
all right,
No necessary action, I guess, at this time, so we'll just leave it right there.
all right, thank you. All right, okay, renovation of the rooms at the Memorial Building. I was contacted by the American Legion, excuse me. We have 2 rooms in the basement that the floor is, been flaking up, is the mechanical room, the furnace room off the kitchen. And then the other one is where they store those white panels. The floor is all kind of busted up. Adam, you know what we're talking about. So they just want kind of permission to look into, see what it'd take to fix those floors. So they can just kind of look into, find out talk to a contractor and look at, you know, what's the cost gonna be and what kind of repairs are gonna be needed. Nothing's gonna be done yet, but just for them to look into it.
So then you said they would actually visit with contractors, correct? Yeah, cause I think, isn't it part of our policy that anything done work on?
Yes,
how is
for
it
anything else, it has to be a licensed contractor.
Yep.
For any city building,
Right.
street work, anything has to be a licensed contractor, so I guess that would be my.
But you already mentioned contractors, so.
Yep.
So we're covered.
Yeah, it'd be all contracted.
And then they're paying for that then?
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Yep.
That's all I.
Yeah, this is just for information only, so.
Cool. Some of it's like tile, right? Or is it like a tile sort of?
Yeah, there's some tile down there, so they'd have to look at, what's gonna happen if they need to contain that or whatever, so,
Yeah, cause I mean, it could be that asbestos tile or who knows, way back in the day, you know?
yeah. So,
Excuse me, I think there's actually 3 rooms that have that coming up. One's also where they keep the Christmas trees across from the elevator.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's actually 3 rooms.
okay. Well, they just spoke to me about the two,
Yeah, I
so,
just thought I mentioned that.
no, that's good.
You did say that they'd want permission, would you entertain a motion then that we give them permission, or just so we know about it, or what?
I guess we can make a motion just to kind of speed it along a little bit.
So the motion would be to just
Give them
permission
the
to
okay
get
to
quote?
look into it.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion to give permission to the American Legion to look into some floor replacement in the Memorial Hall.
Second it.
Okay. Any other discussion?
And you said that the cost would be absorbed by them?
Correct.
Okay,
Keith?
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Yes. All right, thank you. Okay, the gym floor maintenance.
Laura had reached out to me, with FLR Sanders, they are the ones that installed the floor. They came back and did the cure for it. She sent me a proposal to come in May. She currently has us scheduled for the week of May 19th. If we would like to have them come in and do our yearly maintenance and resurface it. Last year we did the water base, if that's what we would continue to do it again. There is a 48-hour cure time. So it'd be fine for Memorial Day.
So is this gonna be a yearly thing? Do you know, Mark, on this floor? Cause it's,
No, I don't.
yeah, okay, I was just maybe thought
Yeah.
they mentioned it to you.
And then, what about for Riverboat Days? Is that gonna run in the cure time into the?
It's only 48 hours, so
Oh,
Riverboat
48.
Days is
Oh, okay. Got it.
2 weeks after that, 3 weeks. I can't remember what weekend it is.
And it'll take them how long to do it?
It takes them about a day.
Oh, okay.
I think they were in out of there the last time. We just do the water base. They do any of the
Sure.
scuffing. Make sure the beta still, I guess, stays up there. Then we are covered for another year of warranty.
So how does that work? We're covered for another year warranty if you,
For the floor, yeah, by doing this, resurfacing it and making sure that it's
do you remember what
Stay
the
there.
warranty was?
1 year.
Oh, so it's 1 year of what they're doing here?
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, they had that 1 year from like the time that it was done for it to set up and expand and yada yada yada, where we couldn't put any water on it.
Mhm.
And now we just have to have it resurfaced. If we want to, I guess, continue to do it every year, then they come in and they take care of all the scuff marks, all the little divots and stuff that's in there, and then they resurface it so that it doesn't have that option, I guess, of becoming as bad as it did last time.
So it's kind of a high maintenance floor?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I have a question, what's the cost?
$4,071.
It's a nice board.
Yeah, and it gets a lot of use,
Yeah, it does.
so. I would move that we would go ahead with this proposal. This is water base again, correct?
Yes.
Yep, okay, not that there's a difference, but.
I'll second the motion.
I guess I just have a question. So I remember a while ago, there was like difference between like oil and water-based, and I know oil or water is quicker to cure, less off-gassing, that sort of stuff. Is the oil more like resilient? Is that kind of what it was? Like maybe a 2-3 year thing, or? I'm trying, it's almost been like, what, a year?
Yeah.
Since we've talked about this?
For the oil, I guess I'm
That-
not sure. I know it take that one, I think is like 2 a week to cure.
But I think what you're alluding to is if you could get by for more.
Yeah. Or a different type of finish, cause I guess I've just used like standard woodworking finishes, but I know like water-based, it's nice for, get away from the off-gassing, the quicker dry time, but then the resilience is not there, like even it's more susceptible to water, and like the white rings and stuff that you'll see and that sort of stuff, so I don't know if it's the exact same chemical compound or polyacrylic or whatever, but I guess I'm just.
Do we need to move on this month to get a time frame scheduled? Or you don't know for sure?
No, it's good for 60 days.
No, but I mean, as far as to get on their schedule.
No, I think she has us penciled in there for the week of May 19th. We just need to resign. Please return your signed proposal by February 1st to secure your spot on our schedule.
Yeah, I think maybe, I guess did I second that or motion? I don't remember.
There was a motion in a second, we're on
Yeah,
discussion.
I would withdraw that if we would, maybe we should look into, like he said, to see whether there's an advantage, if there's more cost going with the oil, but if there's an advantage where you can get by a longer period of time. And then whether it would fit into the schedule, maybe we can make a different decision, or, you know, as long as we don't have to do it this month.
Yeah, since we're on discussion, the one thing that, working with varnishes and stuff, that if we went to water and then to oil to get that to, bond, that might be why they wanna stay with water, or you might have to sand it all the way down and go with oil, so.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I guess we can
Yeah.
get those questions answered.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
'Cause I know depending upon what it is, sometimes you can do like a shellac or sanding sealer. Mark's actually really good at this too, so.
Yeah, I was just kinda curious, are there protective tarps for the gymnasium floor here?
No,
We were at the Christmas thing the other day at the high school.
Yeah.
And they had the protective tarps out there, which would go a long way to keep from doing scuffs and stuff like this. But in answer to your question, if you're gonna put the oil base down, you'd have to strip that floor down completely,
Mhm.
neutralize it, and then bring it back, so.
Yep.
You're looking at, probably not quite a week, but, 3 or 4 days.
and probably an added cost too.
Oh, definitely a big added cost, because you have almost 3 times the amount of labor to do it.
So I don't know if you guys wanna wait another month, or
Oh, I think we can.
Yeah, it's just thoughts, maybe just look into it a little
then
bit.
we could do the research on it and then come up with thanks Mark for your input.
I might have that email, but do you still have that information about the floor that these guys or the Legion sent us a while, like a year ago or so when the floor got put in?
Like how to clean it and all the information, yeah, it's all saved in a folder.
I don't know if you wanna email that to us and we can look at it again, review it.
All right,
We'll move
Tim,
on- Move on next week, so, or next month. What were you gonna say, Mark?
Oh,
I withdrew
just,
my motion.
you withdrew your
Yeah.
motion, so. All right, okay, we're gonna move on, 2025 commission meeting dates. Everyone had a chance to look at the dates? Is there any conflicts that anyone sees?
Oh, I like them. They're consistent with what we've done in the past, so I move that we'd approve this, so.
All right,
Second.
any more discussion? Not, Keith?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Employee Christmas gifts.
So we kind of talked about this during the show, not kind of, we did. And I kind of just noticed a trend of, I don't know what happened, but usually things would go up or stay the same, but we went from like almost like $300 back like 10, 12 years ago, down, slowly down, slowly down, till it was like like $50 almost, you know, so I had a whole chart and everything I drew, and it was, it's just, in my opinion, it seemed to be going the right way. If it's like a gift of appreciation, like, are we appreciating them less, not keeping up with inflation, you know, like, I just didn't really understand why it was going down, and I couldn't really understand that. But basically, we kind of just decided that the easiest and best for keep the money local would be some Washburn bucks, which is what I was previously referring to with the 250 down. And I think was it 250 or 200 that we decided at the meeting?
250.
So it'd be 250 for each employee. And that's where we were at on that. So last year was some jackets. But yeah, so basically what we talked about.
So that was is that your HR recommendation?
Yep.
Coming out of there?
Is that even the summer employees or just full-time?
It'd be everybody, because I mean, he's still in it here, so, and going
Okay.
on for an extended period of time, but
So he's kind of full-time.
kind of, yeah. They keep him busy, we'll just say that, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was down scrubbing the stuff, so there's some cleaning in the kitchen, he was down scrubbing the floors, and he's doing a great job, so.
Mhm.
All right, so that's your recommendation?
That's my recommendation, yeah.
So I would move we would go with HR's recommendation to give $250 of Christmas bucks to each of our, is it full-time employees? Is that
All the
employees,
employees,
okay, all employees.
I'll second that. Any more discussion? Not, Keith?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. All right, employee reviews and raises.
Okay, so this is another project I worked on, and first of all, apologies for the spreadsheet in there. It was very, very nice in Google Sheets, but then apparently it's for 2025, not 2024, so it's my mistake that she wonderfully caught. So it looked nicer before, I assure you, bad coloring, all that sort of stuff, that's not important. Okay, so basically what we have here, we have the 2025 proposed wage increases. In the top left, we have what the COLA recommendation for like Social Security, that sort of stuff. It is 2.5 for 2025. Now on the right, you see underneath there, 2% is the proposed merit increase. That does not mean that all get the merit increase. That'll be explained down below here. As you can see my little notes, basically we connected it to the categories that we actually evaluate. Because for a COLA, you know, Tim has explained this in the past, like a thing of milk costs everyone the same. So it makes sense that the raise would be the same across the board, or at least the same rate. But whereas merit, that should have somehow be tied to job performance. So over just the past 2 years or whatever it has been with HR, we've done like monthly meetings now where we are getting monthly evaluations. Those monthly evaluations are now going into the yearly evaluations. So then those get scored in the categories there. So availability, creativity, dependability, you know, all those 11 that are listed there. And there's 5 different levels that you can achieve in those. So excellent, above average, satisfactory. Those are assigned a point to the right. So basically there's a maximum score because there's 11 total categories and each one can be a maximum of 5 points of 55. So depending upon how they scored in those, they then get a percentage of the merit increase. So to figure that, we took the end of year annual evaluations. Then you can see the scores at the chart down below with the really ugly green. Adam, Chelsea, all them, and their evaluation score out of 55. I'll just spare you the math, I guess, but basically I took that to see what percent of the 2% they would get, right? So then that is the percent of the 2% that they would get. So then to the right, you see the proposed merit increase. So that is taken from their current wage, as is the COLA, because you don't want to compound both raises on top of each other. So COLA taken from that, also the merit increase. Then you can see on the right that it would be the proposed wage plus COLA plus the earned merit increase. So everyone would be there at the bottom right. That's the final little table, but there was 2 other things to take care of. So there's that highlighted in yellow, so you go to the way bottom. And so Stephen, when we first hired, we were talking about a 6-month evaluation. Very conveniently, that lined up with literally the annual evaluation. So, and during the hire and that process, a 50-cent wage increase was spoke of. And So that is also proposed, and I have it side by side at the bottom there. And then with Ben, he was seasonal, now to continual seasonal. There was a $1 proposed because he's doing a lot more things than he was doing previously with like lawnmowers. He's now doing a lot of other, a little bit colder things, you could say.
Responsibility.
Yeah, lots of responsibilities and doing an excellent job. So then we have in the far bottom right, the COLA merit plus the proposed increase, which is referencing those extra for Ben and Steven. Or if you guys would prefer and just do COLA and merit, those numbers are way down at the bottom right. So that'd be, I'm sorry, that's a lot, but if there's questions, just let me know.
Oh, I think you made it pretty clear,
Sure.
actually. Do you have any recommendations then?
This, yep. Would be it, and so it'd be this with the proposed increase for the two. So that'd be the only option specifically that I'd be proposing, and mine would be the full everything, just because it was discussed, previously. Obviously,
Sure.
don't have to do it, whatever you guys would like to do.
I'll second your motion.
Okay, so then just to clarify, my motion would be for the, COLA and merit increase, and plus the extra proposed increases for Ben and Steven. Is that sufficient for a motion, Josie?
Yep.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Keith?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. All right, thank you. All right, janitorial help.
Okay, so, we have the need to advertise for new janitorial help. We've gone separate ways with our previous janitor, thank her for everything that she's done. But now would be the time to be looking to advertise again to get someone else, so.
So you need a motion to open the position.
Yes, I think we brought a posting, or is that gonna be next time?
Yep, so currently the job posting that I do have states that it's a part-time position who can work, approximately 20 hours a week. The salary range that we did have in here, is 18 to 20 per hour, if we want to keep that the same. I think we need to stress that 20 hours a week. That hall takes more time, especially in the winter with all the events going on in there. But yes, to keep it open, I guess, or to advertise for it, and if we want to look at that salary range up there, or changing it.
And what we kind of talked about, it's pretty fair for starting. You know, obviously, if there's beyond that, you know, did we have 18 to 20 depending upon experience? Is that what
It just says between 18 to 20 per hour. I can add on.
Yeah, depending upon experience, yeah.
Yep.
But
Is it Steve, is he working a full 40 hours a week?
yes, Steve is, yep. So Steve's on his full time, and then Ben is the part time.
Oh, sorry,
Yep.
Ben.
But he does work 40 hours a week.
Yeah, because now they're cleaning. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's so sorry, off topic, but we were very thankful we kept Ben through the winter. We'll just say that. Just yep.
Yeah, they're picking up the janitorial until we get that position filled.
Correct.
And then they're gonna do the lead line checking too?
Both of that,
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I would move that we would open up the janitorial position with, I guess the job description that you guys had
Okay.
and the wages.
Second.
Any more discussion? If not, Keith?
Yes.
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 Yes. A2S.
Eric.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good.
Alright, got a couple sheets of paper for you guys. there's no questions off the bat, I'll just start going down the list that I have there. The first one is the lead and copper rule revision, which the LCRI, lead and copper rule improvements, just passed. So that is going on. We finished the category A assistance, for you guys. That was state funds that we used to do the service line inventory. And we did that survey, trying to figure out all the service lines, in Washburn. So the update to that is the category B assistance funding is now starting to be distributed, albeit very slowly from the state. So far, all of the clients at A2S helped out, all the public water systems, only one of our public water systems has received category B funding so far. What the state has told us is that they are looking at awarding the category B funding to the small systems first. Washburn's not amongst this, they're a smaller system, but they're not the smallest system. So there's many systems smaller than Washburn, public water systems. So category B funding is to do essentially a lot of the same things within category A, with the addition of door-to-door surveys. So what we would do, and I don't expect Washburn to hear anything until January, February timeframe. Hopefully Washburn does get funding for category B this year, this coming year. But I can't tell you guys when that would happen. But what the state has indicated to us is that we would be assigned to helping Washburn out again for that. So we would look at doing a records review, because they're making us look at connectors now. And we would also relook at anything that we might have missed, for finding out the service line material, between the water main and the curb stop. There might have been some questions that you guys got from people in town about why did I get this notification letter? I told you guys what my service line is. The reason that people got those letters is because the EPA and the DEQ, the state, have said that we need to know what the material for the service line is between the home and the curb stop, and the curb stop and the water main. So if they did a survey, the DEQ and the EPA is only saying if the customer, resident identified the service line material, that only counts for that half of the service line, unfortunately. And if we didn't have records on the service line material between the water main and the curb stop, then we have to classify that line as unknown. Even though the customer or the resident said, hey, I know what it is, that's great, we know what that half is, but we need to know what both sides are.
So there's no way to identify the other one unless you dig the street up.
And unless you dig the street, unless you have records, if you don't have records, then you have to dig the street up. So that's something that we're working to figure out how crazy we gotta get with, finding out material. Step one is definitely finding out what we can more easily, and that's finding out what's inside the home. So, that's what our goal is to identify every service line coming into every home or business in town. So there's a lot more to be gathered there, but, that's what we would do once we get that funding for you guys, is we would go around and we'd look at the records again, and then we'd do a survey again to the people that didn't answer the survey the first time. We'd make sure we're not sending surveys twice. And then after that, it'd be a door-to-door thing where we would have personnel go around and do door knocks and check and offer to do that survey for each resident.
Yep.
So.
Just to be clear, we're already doing some of that with our own people,
Yes.
going door to door.
Which is great to be proactive at it.
Yep.
Cause the thing that's gonna start really affecting public water systems like Washburn is this LCRI, lead and copper rule improvements. Basically there's a 3-year window here where, November of 2027 is when that rule takes effect. And then at that point, when you test for lead, cause you guys do tests about every 3 years for lead and copper, okay? So when you test for lead, right now, an exceedance of the allowable level is 15 parts per billion, okay? The EPA is moving that down to 10 parts per billion, so it's gonna be easier to have a lead exceedance. Now, the good news for Washburn is, I don't know that I've ever seen, Washburn exceed the levels of the allowable level, but if there is something that's right on that line, it's gonna be easier for it to happen, okay? So then there's a whole bunch of things that each public water system has to do once a exceedance happens, okay? Talking about communicating to the public, letting them know like, hey, you had an exceedance at this address. and, you know, making sure that they're aware. So just to back up a little bit, those letters, those notification letters that were sent out, that is something that everyone is gonna start to get used to, cause it has to happen annually. So that's something that, I'm sorry, Chelsea,
know.
that is something that every public water system in the entire country will have to do every year, okay? Now, 2027, I said that date, that's when LCRI starts going into effect. At that point, it starts a 10-year timeline. Whatever, we created the initial inventory for the service lines. That gets set, once the rule goes into effect, so for every public water system. And then you have to have a replacement plan for the next 10 years, from 2027 to 2037. Whatever inventory you have at that time, you have to have a 10-year replacement plan. So if you have, let's say in Washburn, there's about 600 service lines. We identified, not that many of them. There's many that are unknowns because of the fact that we didn't know what was between the water main and the curb stop. We have a pretty darn good idea what they are, but until we can't prove that, that's the problem. So let's just say for easy math that 50 of them are known. And let's just say that we found that 10 of them are lead and the remaining are all unknown. That's a lot of unknowns. So what they're saying is, once that replacement plan kicks into gear in 2027, if it's unknown, you have to treat it as if it's lead. You have to go in and replace it. So the goal is definitely to figure out all the unknowns. Okay. So that's what we're gonna try to do with that category B assistance. And we're gonna dig into records again. Unfortunately, I mean, you guys are in the same boat as many public water systems. It's not that you have bad records, you do have records, but if the material's not called out on those service lines, I can't use that as something to tell, like, hey, this is what it is. So that's something we're gonna look at again for everybody, you know. We're trying to use as much common sense as we can on this, you know, to get the answers we need. So, is there any questions you guys have on the category B assistance or the LCRI?
So because it would only make sense that if someone was putting in a line, they wouldn't specify what they were using, they would just use the material of whatever year it was put in. I mean,
Right.
you know, so whether they would list copper or plastic, really wouldn't be a need for a contractor to do that. So I can
Right.
see why you wouldn't have a written record of
And,
it.
you know, and public water systems have been around for a long time. Unfortunately, the lead ban has only been around in North Dakota since January of '89. So there's a lot of homes older than '89, right? So that's what we looked at first, was try to eliminate big swaths of service lines, like, hey, this home was built in 1995. Yeah, it's not gonna be lead, right?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's what makes it a challenge, is if you don't have what materials, like a lot of times in the plans, it shows it's a service line. If you don't have the specs, which thing is, specifications, as boring as they are, they're not really held on to nearly as much as plans are. You have the specifications, that's something that I was able to do with Bismarck, is find a specification that was written many years prior to 1989, that they had used, this is what we have, this is our service line material.
Right.
And I was able to show that to the state and be like, hey, this is what they've been installing since this date. So we're gonna look for stuff like that if we can, that will certainly help. But unfortunately, the specifications is not always something that's held on to for records, so.
And this might be silly, but if you know that there's no lead lines like up to the street where it's gonna go to the house, and you're unsure of that in between, instead of digging up, are you able to take, like, if you can see all other fixtures except that are in the ground, like take a sample of the water and see if it contains lead?
That's actually a really good question. That's not silly at all. So that's something that we're looking at possibly being able to do, is sample the water between, you know, just take it right at the meter or at the curb stop. Something that could potentially be done. But if that's something that they're gonna approve, we don't know that yet. Because that's the thing, if you have a lead line, it might be just fine. If it's not disturbed and it's not corroding or anything like that, then you might have very, very, very small, but like well below the allowable level of lead in your water, or you might not even, none might not even showing up. It really just depends. It's not always going to be. It might be a lead line that's well over the allowable level, and it might be well under or untraceable. So
Yeah,
you don't, the thing is, you can never guarantee that it is or is not. So that's the tough part about it.
Because even visually inspecting, you'd have to see the entire thing. 'Cause, I mean,
Right,
who knows
so-
if there wasn't a junction or something that had to be fixed at one time.
Exactly.
Right.
And that argument could be made if you go to like debate it, like, okay, well, how serious are you? Do you gotta see every foot of the line or what? What the EPA and the state says is you gotta see the line between the home and the curb stop and between the curb stop and the main. So if you see it coming into the home, you look at the first 12 to 18 inches coming into the home, and that's what you use to determine this is what the line is all the way to the curb stop. Well, that doesn't tell you what it is between the curb stop and the main.
but, you know, no, you can't use this as criteria, but lead hasn't been used. I mean, was out of use long before 1989, wasn't it?
I would agree with you. You know, they had copper, but then they had lead solder that they used too.
Well, yeah,
So that's
lead
another
solder.
thing.
Right, and you're gonna find more of that than you're gonna, cause like the Huffman building, that was copper in that hole when we were there. That was 1946 when that building was put in. I know the building that I used to have over here was middle 50s, and that's copper coming into there, so like you said, but the lead solder's there, so
Yeah.
it's gonna have to really be old to be copper.
The lead that we're finding is going to be in the early 20th century, so like 1910, 1915 to like the 1940s. That's typically where we see it, but there is cases where in the 50s and 60s they put lead in as well.
Right.
And I'm sure there's cases all the way up until the lead ban.
Yep.
There's some contractor out there had
Some
all
lead.
this extra lead, and he's like, hey, I can use this up, you know, whatever. I have this lead pipe, and it's still legal.
Right.
You know, so you gotta assume that some lead was put in into the 80s. You know,
Yep.
so.
Okay.
I want to point out, it's on your update, but we have, AE2S is hosting an LCRI webinar on Wednesday. It's at noon on Wednesday. If you want to sign up for that, I don't know that I sent it to the commissioners, but if you want me to forward that to you, I certainly can. I know that Chelsea and Adam are both signed up for it. And our subject matter experts that we have on the lead and copper rule improvements will be, we have a panel of 3 of them that will be talking about everything LCRI. Recommend checking that out. I'm glad these 2 are already signed up for it, but that they can speak much better than I can on LCRI. But that's a good resource that's out there. It also is going to be recorded, so if you can't attend at the time, you can look up the recording and watch it. So, you guys want me to send that link to you to sign up for that webinar? Okay. Any questions on lead and copper? Okay. All right. Moving on to the seal coat project. So Adam let me know that you guys are wanting numbers for doing a seal coat project. So what I'd done is I put together quantities. So in your sheets that I gave to you, I wrote a sheet out there. It's probably not nearly as nice of a spreadsheet that I'm sure Keith can make. But there's a quantities, and a lot of the majority of what you see on that quantity sheet is gonna be the stuff from the 2016 project, okay? There is a section on there of Main Avenue from 3rd Street to Highway 200, because I understood that the commission was interested in seal coating that as well. So that's what all that is. And Riverside Park Road was a longer street that we had on that project, although Riverside Park Road is having some erosion issues right now as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. We're just over 40,000 square yards of area that we would need to seal coat. So that's the number that I want you to remember, that I added up for all that. And then the estimate that I have, it's that sheet with the small box on the top side there. That is the estimate to do a seal coat project that would include all those quantities.
221,000.
221, yep. And this would cover all that area. It'd be very similar to the seal coat project that we did back in, I wanna say it was like 2017. It was like the year after the 2016 project, and what we had done then was the 2013 and 2014 projects were seal coated. So, if I remember correctly. Now, if the city was interested in adding the 2023 project that we just did last year to that, it wouldn't be a bad idea to do that, because then you're having a contractor come out here and do everything, rather than mobile them in like the next year. And I would add about 70K to that estimate, so you'd be at about 290, 291. And I can add that in there if that's something you guys are interested in doing. So,
I think as long as they were gonna be here and if we were gonna do it,
Okay.
it would be wise just to do it, so.
so what I would do, if it's okay with the commission, is I would update your, next month, if I can be here, I'll be here, if not, I can send it to you guys, and I would update that estimate. And then I would have a task order to do the work
Right.
for that. Would you guys want to have a project rep on site for that work? This is a project, it would take them about a week to do, I think, if we had good weather. If we had some nice hot days, and all of a sudden a thunderstorm didn't roll in,
Right.
cause that can happen in June, July, and August. You know, if we have a good like 3-4 days, nice and hot, and a group like Aztec could come in here and get all this knocked out in 1 week.
What kind of temperature is ideal for?
You want it to be hot. You want to have at least 70 degrees or higher, if you're gonna do this.
Make sure you get all your seal cracking done. before
Yep.
then.
Well, that's up to the city if they'd wanna do that, but yeah, you could do that. The seal coat's would be okay in covering that, but.
So as far as his question, Adam, would you want somebody on site?
I can't imagine for a week it wouldn't even add that much cost in the grand scheme of stuff.
Yeah, and they wouldn't have to be here all day, each day
Right.
either.
Yeah.
it wouldn't be a bad idea to have
Have some
somebody,
oversight on it.
and that could be something that would just be hourly anyways, so,
Right.
you know, that person would only come out, when the contractor's gonna be working, of course.
Yeah.
Just be hourly, but that information is like feedback I'm looking for, cause I put that into the task order.
And I think before we go with this, we wanna decide what funding mechanism we wanna use.
Mhm.
Whether we're gonna use one cent sales or whether we're gonna, what we're gonna do. We need to look at that before we approve this, so.
Yeah,
Yep.
and you guys can wait to do that next month too.
Right.
We're plenty ahead of the game with this one.
Yeah.
You know, we can talk about that next month, but what I would do is come prepared with a task order and an updated estimate, and then if you guys were to go ahead and approve that at that time, then we would go ahead and start working on the plans for it, specs, and get ready to advertise it. We would want to get on everyone's list right away. So if we're on their list by February, that would be fine, I think, but.
Okay.
Cause you guys, the next meeting is gonna be in January.
Right, yep.
Before we leave, I'm gonna get a picture of your guys' updated meeting dates.
I'll just give it
So.
to you.
Is there any, like, studies on how much longer this will make the road last, or would it really cut down on tarring, you think?
It's definitely gonna cut down on tarring, yeah, it's gonna give I can't tell you the exact amount of years it's gonna give, but it's definitely gonna help, keep your roads up better. Especially if I mean, whether you're having cracking or not, putting a seal coat on is gonna help. You know, most certainly could carry a street, longer years, and keep it up stronger longer as well, you know, before you're gonna have to start doing some bigger patching jobs. It's a recommended maintenance to do some seal coating for sure, so.
You would want to crack seal before you seal coat, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt.
I think it would make the most sense,
Yeah.
otherwise your car's gonna be right down that crack.
Yeah, yep. Yep, that'd be
Yeah,
good
before
if you guys have.
Before the asphalt closes up, or winter's gonna come, it's gonna crack open again.
Right. Yeah, if you guys have, which sounds like you have a couple of good guys, after talking about all the HR updates that could maybe get around and do some of that. And I don't know what you have for material either, Adam, if you guys have enough to go around
We'll
on
have
that, but
enough.
I know that's
Yeah, we'll have enough.
always been a struggle too, but. Any questions on that? Otherwise, I'll come back next month with the update on it. So, I think we're okay waiting, I don't think
Right,
we have to
okay.
go right this minute, so.
And just to add to that with, Tim bringing up funding, typically seal coating has been specialed in the past, so.
Okay.
I know there's a couple of them on there that are all for seal coating.
Mhm.
Just an option.
Yeah, and you know, I can talk to Abby tomorrow too about like maybe BND funding. If that's something that you guys would wanna use. That would be a good option for seal coating. SRF funding is not really something that can fund that, but, yeah, up to you guys. I can talk to Abby about getting some options, so. Okay. If no questions, I'll move on to the PRV improvements project. I should have came with some pictures, for you guys. Adam and I looked at these, over the last few months. And what I'll say is, the PRV vault that you have on Fourth Avenue is in really good condition. Matter of fact, the valves in there don't look like they're that bad, even though they're 30 years old. Well, 1990, so they're 34 years old. Cause I found the, you know, doing the lead and copper stuff, I get to see a lot of the old
Right.
plans you guys had. That was a KLJ project back in 1990, where they put that PRV vault in on Fourth Avenue.
Yep.
So, and when we looked at those valves, they look fine. What I'd recommend there is just a new PRV. You know, we could look at the gate valves, making sure that they're okay, but they look like they're okay.
Should be.
So that's what I'd recommend there. The PRV vault that's up by the old tower, it could be left alone. It could be replaced. Now, what I would say is all the piping should probably be replaced. Is what I'd recommend. So the estimate that I have for you guys, it's much lower than what we had originally, but it could get lower if you're okay with keeping the same vault there. The concrete's really not in that bad a shape, but the piping should be replaced. And I don't know how far out of the PRV vault we gotta go at them before we find the PVC, but there should be 8-inch PVC on the outside of that vault. So the other thing that would need to happen, I'd recommend for sure that we put in a new gate valve upstream, well, to the north of the PRV. We should put a new gate valve, and then the PRV itself and the piping should be replaced. The valve that's downstream of the PRV might be fine, but that's not something that we were able to evaluate.
But if there's questions on the vault, it should just be replaced. You have that figured in here, right?
The vault being
Right.
replaced is figured in this, but if the city was wanting to save money, we could leave that
Right.
vault in place and, you know, just put in a new piping and valve.
Do you have a vault? What do they?
So what I
It's on
would,
the bottom there.
what I'd recommend is
30,000.
it would just be essentially be putting in like a 6-foot diameter manhole for
Right.
that.
Okay.
You know, and the cost estimates this early on are high, and I have an unidentified design elements in there too, just to give cushion for the city when they're planning this. And like I say, I can discuss more with Adam on what everyone's thoughts are, if that's a vault that we wanna replace, or if we wanna get by with what we have. And I can, you know, put the screws on this estimate and try to get it lower if the city's okay with the existing structure that's there.
There were some funds that were designated for that, right?
Yes, cause we have our prairie dog funding and, our ARPA, thank you.
Okay.
I could think of ARP and funding that will fund majority of this, so
Right.
the city
This is-
will not be, and if we don't spend all that money, we do not get it back,
Right.
so,
You're a long ways away from ARP.
that's all I can think of.
And the PRV, by the way, that's up by that tower is, I could not find any record on it, but I guarantee it's over 50 years old. So, and I understand that the city replaced the motor on the pump that burned out, for the low zone pumps.
Right.
And that was one of the concerns, if we lose the other one, which, you know, then we wouldn't have the ability to fill that.
Right.
Well, to pressurize the low zone.
Right.
So, this PRV replacement, what we're trying to be able to accomplish by doing this is, dial up the pressure just a little bit, fine tune it a little bit on the high zone in town, which is the Senex Tower and the new tower that's north of the highway. And it would pressurize the low zone through those PRVs. And you could take the old tower offline, because the old tower, as we've been told by KLM, is beyond repair. So that, if we're gonna do that, then we wanna make sure these PRVs are up to snuff. So, what I can do is I can, talk more with Adam on this and,
But I guess I'm just thinking the age of this vault, if there's any question at all.
the thing is about the vault, is I don't know that the vault is as old as the valve.
Oh, okay.
And I just don't know the history behind it on how that vault could have been installed with that valve in place. It most certainly could have been. It looks like there was grouting done around the old pipe that comes into this,
Okay.
but it's a precast concrete manhole essentially is what this. Maybe it's a 5-footer diameter.
Yeah.
You were down in there,
Yeah.
but the concrete's actually in good condition.
Okay.
The PRV looks horrible, but the vault could potentially be reused.
Okay.
Yeah.
Might be something maybe Chris takes a look at it too to see what he thinks.
It's
But
a bit cramped down there compared to the other one, which is a nice box, big,
Yeah.
nice big box.
and that's something that we could put in. Something like that might be a little more than the 30K,
Right.
but you know that 30K estimate's looking at like a 60 or like a 6 or 7 footer with a diameter precast concrete.
Yep.
You know, and that would certainly be better than what's there right now.
Mhm.
But it just depends on if the city is interested in.
Right.
It wouldn't be a bad idea to put a new one in. I'm just saying that you could possibly get by with this concrete structure that's there now.
Okay.
So we can talk more about that.
Wouldn't that PRV been put in, like after the Senex Tower was put up though? Because what would have been the point of having it before the Senex Tower went up?
That's a good question.
There's no point, there was no point,
The
and then
Senex Tower was 1970s.
somewhere in the seventies, I would say.
Yeah,
But but that's when, that line came from,
right.
the newer section.
Yeah.
So I'm
Right.
sure that's what.
And
it was
if that makes good sense, Larry. And so what I would say is that PRV is over 50, probably 60 years old. If it was the Senex Tower was in the 1970s, which I think that's when it was probably
Somewhere,
put in,
yeah.
So
I guess we've gotta do this, but we can determine whether we wanna use the vault or not, so.
yeah.
Like you said.
And I've talked to Tresbeck a little bit about this too, just to
Yeah.
see what his thoughts are and if this is something that he could do. That the thing I want the city to think about as well is this a project we would want to bid? Which there could be some advantage to bidding the project. If the construction costs, estimated construction costs are under 200,000, you wouldn't have to by Century Code. We could go look and solicit quotes from contractors to do the work. And there might be some advantages there too.
Right, okay.
So it's just kind of what the city is thinking.
So we wanna move fairly quickly though, so we don't miss another year.
Oh, yeah,
We
Yep.
can't miss another year.
Right.
yeah, we can. So this recommended improvements should happen this construction season.
Okay.
Yep.
So we would wanna probably try to make a decision in January, you would say?
I think so. I bring it up. I'm saying everything short of giving you my recommendation to just replace the vault. I'm saying it wouldn't be a bad idea to do it.
Could you
But-
and Chris, could you and Chris look at that before?
Mhm.
Okay, next meeting, let me know.
It wouldn't be a bad decision to
Right.
replace it. It's just
Okay.
that it's the a little bit extra cost. And we certainly saved a lot from the initial estimate by looking at the vault on 4th Avenue and saying, hey, this vault's in great condition. The hatch is a little bit to get open, but that's because it's in the street. But other than that, once you get that open, it's good and,
Okay.
and everything in there is well preserved. So
Okay,
any other questions on that? Otherwise, I'll move on. All right, special road fund grant. So this was a grant that we applied for, and up to $300,000 could be awarded. And this grant was applied for Riverside Park Road for the erosion. So, what the city wants to do if we're awarded that grant, that's something we can discuss at that point.
Okay.
Cause I think we're still having movement on River Road, if I understand that, but, at least, doing some, slope stabilization and maybe doing a repaving or patching of the area that's crumbled a little bit, that could have minimally at least be done. You know, if this grant's awarded, that if the city has this funding, but I'll let you know, what we find out on that. The only other thing I have is that 2025 street and drainage improvements project, if the city is still interested in doing that project. Is that something that you guys wanna see, an estimate on, an update?
Sure.
Okay, so that's something I'll work on for the next time I'm out here as well.
What do you think?
That
Jamie?
was a project we were looking at designing in 25 and constructing in 26, I think.
I guess he's street guy, so it's, can't answer for him.
Yeah, what's everybody's opinion? I mean, we're gonna have, specials coming up for just this last one. Is it too fresh to do another deal, or is it gonna, what's everybody's opinion, I guess?
Well, I think you can try and get some estimates without going forward with it, but, yeah, special assessment's a little touchy subject right now, so.
And that's kinda why I've been kinda holding off on that
Yeah.
one, because, but I do know that, and everyone knows that Custer Drive and Heritage Heights and all those roads up there are in pretty tough shape.
I thought it was just cobblestone street.
So,
I was on there tonight.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
Didn't we already do that though? Didn't we already go through and get kind of a proposed?
I showed you guys a project map,
Yeah,
and I showed you guys a cost estimate.
okay.
So, it would be, you know, if you guys want me to present that again to you with an updated cost estimate, and you guys saying, yep, we wanna do this project, and then I would bring you a task order and we'd start design on it. So,
And that would happen next.
well, what I think we would do, unless you guys are, I didn't know if there was a lot of motivation to go after something like that this year. I would just design it and produce plans and specs this coming year and construct it in 2026.
What's the
And-
cost on having that work done? I mean, just your work.
Oh, I suppose I would have a few hours in updating the cost estimate and then just printing out the materials to show you guys again. And this is something that I could meet with the committee too, if that's better. And we could go over it. We could even maybe go over it on Teams. If you guys have the ability to get on Teams call, and I could show you guys some cost estimates and go over the project map.
Right.
We could do that too.
Yeah. Is that what you guys wanna do?
Yeah, we just had a discussion a couple months ago about trying to keep our spending down as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can, you know, I can do more Teams calls to you guys, whatever, if that's easier to save on traveling and.
Well, if you're gonna do a Teams call, and there's more than, there's three or more of us here, it's a meeting, so.
Yeah.
You could visit with Jamie and it would just. be
Right.
just-
Yeah.
Do you have Teams on your, computer at all, Jamie? Or the ability to go on,
We could always set it up here. too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could, yeah,
Yeah, cause Adam could be involved with it.
Yeah.
yeah, because it's probably something we should look at together, so probably just come over here and meet with him and.
and again, I didn't think that there was the drive to wanna actually construct this project in 2025. If that is the case, then I would have to really get moving on that.
Yeah,
A PRV project and a seal coat project is not gonna be a problem, but designing the street, and drainage improvements that we had, that would be a little bit dicey to get that done in
Yeah.
time to hit the right bidding timeframe.
I
And
think,
the right bidding timeframe, we really wanna be bidding by that March timeframe at the latest.
yeah,
So I wouldn't really have time to get that done this year, so.
yeah, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but by the time, if we try to do the seal coating, I mean, if we do, and then the PRV, and then trying to get through the special assessment situation,
Maybe it'd be the next year. do it.
maybe
Yeah.
we should, I don't know, unless somebody else sees it really differently.
Yeah,
maybe-
I'd recommend designing it in 2025 and constructing it in
Well, the
2026.
PRV has to be done and it's already got funding, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And I would,
So-
it'd probably be a good idea just to, you know, smaller group and you guys can
Yeah.
branch it out from there, so then with Jamie and,
Yeah.
you know, so.
So I'll just be in touch with you and Adam on that then, Jamie.
Okay, sounds
So,
Sounds good.
other than that, Merry Christmas to you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All right,
thanks.
thank you. Safe trip home.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, portfolios. Who wants to start? Keith?
Yes, okay, so portfolios, I guess, a lot of was in the meeting, I don't think that there was anything else with HR at this time. Yeah, nothing really, this is not necessarily a portfolio, but a committee, park board, or it's on their Wednesday to kind of talk about the agreement and that sort of thing, so I'll know more probably at our next meeting to report back, so.
I do have something for you. It's just the ash roll-off is actually sitting on park board property back here. I don't know if you just wanna relay that information. Just,
Sure, yeah, I could relay that.
just let them know
That's no problem at all.
that they'll approve it in that location, either that or we'll need to move it, so.
Okay, I'll see if they have an issue with it.
Tim?
I guess, the new sewer jetter is here, and that'll be paid out of the sewer fund, cause there's more than sufficient funds in there. And then, do you remember, Adam, when we were visiting with the salesman about potential for, selling our old one? He thought maybe like hog farms, dairy farms.
Something like that, yeah. He didn't really have any idea how much it would go for. but-
Right, cause it would have to be put out on bids anyway, but I'm just looking more of a way of advertising it, cause
Yep.
they're winterizing it now, I don't wanna steal your thunder here, but they're winterizing it now, but I think Adam and I can kinda maybe come up with an idea for January of, we might just well go ahead and sell it, cause on a temporary basis, it could work out for someone, so.
Yep.
That's
There's a
all.
real danger of it just sitting in the compound for the next 10 years or so, so.
Yeah, so I thought we could turn it over, if we get a few $1,000, we get a few $1,000, so. That's all I got.
No, I think we kinda covered most of mine just previously, so.
Oh, and did you wanna bring up the airport meeting?
Which part, or which, cause I know there's some stuff in talks yet, but I don't know if anything really.
Okay, that's fine. No? Okay, so for the memorial building, we talked about the floor, and then, at the last meeting, Keith Jacobson, brought up some information on some bleachers, permanent bleachers. I talked to the American Legion, I've talked to one of the organizers for the committee groups. It seems like, we're still looking for something that's more, movable, either retractable or nothing that's gonna be permanent, take up that space. And then Keith Jacobson from the school also, came up with some information on a new winch system for lifting the basketball hoops up.
Okay.
And that's still in talks, so.
Okay.
I talked to Zach a little bit about maybe moving the boat ramps, the docks, a little bit more to the west.
What?
Well, because they're just so close to the road coming down,
Oh.
just to slide them back a little bit. Either to put a couple cones there,
I guess I mean, it's up to you. I wrote
but
down
then,
there. I
but
didn't
then
know.
Zach had mentioned that they're talking about if we start getting ample amount of snow, that they might just block the road off and then block off the boat ramp.
I guess
which-
I've been by there when I was checking river levels and I didn't think they were in the way at all, so that's why I said.
Well,
why.
if you can see them, that's, but if, you know, if we start getting a bunch of snow down there and then it's gonna, I don't want somebody to accidentally start drive over the end of one or something, damage it.
You have to work at it.
Yeah. I don't know, it's up to Adam.
Yep.
It's just a thought. Besides that, that's about all I got. Adam, do you have anything?
In addition to my report, most of the extra stuff's been covered, but as Eric said, we repaired our old tower pump. We took it down to Eggers in Bismarck, had them put new bearings in it, at the cost of $1,300, I believe. Maybe you haven't gotten the
I
bill
haven't
for it yet.
gotten the invoice for it
I
yet.
believe it was about $1,300, opposed to the cost of a new one, which was about $6,000. He told us those bearings are approaching their end of life, so he recommended we bring down our other tower pumps to get the bearings replaced on those, which we will do, weather permitting. But nothing in addition to the rest, so.
Chelsea, you have anything?
I'm waiting. I got an email back from our state auditors that our audit was 95% complete. They were waiting on the airport for their portion of it. So I'm hoping to have that back anytime soon so I can finish out our continuing disclosure for our bonds that they need. We are closed December 24th and 25th. Just a reminder, when City Hall is closed, that means the Memorial Building is closed for open walk as well. And I think that's all I have.
Okay.
You get Christmas.
We do.
Rhonda, do you have anything to report? I heard Santa Claus made it back to the North Pole, so. We had about 200 kids.
I'm thinking we had maybe 200 to 300 people walk through the Memorial Hall. It was a packed event.
Anything coming up in the community? Next project? No.
Not yet.
Okay. Next meeting is January 13th. Make a motion to adjourn.
You don't need one, you can declare it adjourned.
Adjourn.